You're sitting in a conference room full of colleagues. The boss is talking. Everyone's scribbling notes furiously. Everyone except one guy. He's just staring at his notebook. Flipping the page back, flipping it forward, squinting like the words are hiding from him. Because they are. And I'm sitting 3 seats away, watching the whole thing unfold, biting the inside of my cheek so hard I nearly draw blood, because I know exactly what's happening. And I planned every second of it. If you've ever had someone constantly disrespect you in small ways, the kind of thing that's too minor to report but too infuriating to ignore, then this story is going to hit differently. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and settle in. Because what you're about to hear is one of the most quietly satisfying, perfectly executed office revenges I've ever come across. And trust me, it's a masterclass in patience. Open office floor plan. Rows of desks pushed together in clusters of 4. The kind of layout that's sold to companies as collaborative workspace design, but really just means you hear every phone call, every snack wrapper, every passive-aggressive sigh from the people around you. That's where I worked, and for the most part, I liked it. I kept my head down, did my work, tried to make the day go by smoothly. I had a routine. Every Monday, I'd restock my desk, fresh notepad, a couple of highlighters, and my pens. Always my pens. Now listen, I'm not talking about fancy gold-tipped fountain pens or anything extravagant. These were just good, reliable, smooth-writing click pens, the kind that feel right in your hand. If you're a pen person, you know exactly what I mean. There's something deeply personal about a pen that works the way you like it to work. And someone kept stealing mine. At first, I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. I'd reach for a pen, and there'd be none. I'd check the cup on my desk. Empty. I'd check my drawer. Gone. I'd end up borrowing one from someone else or rummaging through the supply closet, and I'd tell myself, I must have misplaced them. I'll be more careful. But the thing is, I was careful. I'd put 2 pens down in the morning and they'd be gone by lunch. 3 pens on a Tuesday, gone by Wednesday. It started to feel less like carelessness and more like erosion, like something was quietly chipping away at my desk, my space, my small sense of control over my own workday. Then one afternoon, I glanced across the cluster of desks, and I noticed it. My pen. My exact pen. Same color, same brand. The little rubber grip I'd recognize anywhere. It was sitting on the desk of the guy directly across from me. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus was one of those people who had a very particular energy, the kind of guy who was always just a little too comfortable helping himself to things. The last slice of cake in the break room? Gone before anyone else got there. The good stapler? Somehow always migrated to his side of the desk cluster. He never asked. He never returned. He just took. And now, apparently, he was taking my pens. I sat with that knowledge for a moment. Just breathed. Watched him click my pen open and closed while he scrolled through his emails, completely unbothered, completely unaware that I was staring at him like I'd just solved a mystery. And here's the thing. I thought about saying something. I really did. I ran through the conversation in my head. Hey, Marcus, is that my pen? And I could already hear his response. The casual shrug. Oh, I didn't realize. I just grabbed one. Maybe he'd hand it back. Maybe he wouldn't. But either way, nothing would change. Because people like Marcus don't change when you confront them. They just get more careful about hiding what they do. So I decided I wasn't going to confront him. I was going to confirm him. I needed to be sure first. Absolutely certain. So I started paying attention. I began leaving exactly 2 pens on my desk every morning and marking the time I put them down. And almost like clockwork, within an hour or 2, at least one would vanish. I'd look up casually and there was Marcus, writing away, always conveniently having acquired a new pen right around the same time mine disappeared. This went on for another 2 weeks as I gathered my mental evidence. And something interesting happens to you when you know someone is stealing from you, but you can't prove it in a way that would satisfy anyone else. You stop feeling angry. Anger is loud and urgent. What you start feeling is something quieter and colder, a kind of patient resolve. You start thinking about consequences. One night, I was browsing online, not even looking for anything in particular, when I stumbled across something that made me stop scrolling entirely. Disappearing ink pens. Now, you might think of disappearing ink as a kid's prank, invisible ink spy kits, that sort of thing. But these were real, functional ballpoint pens. They wrote perfectly. Smooth, dark, completely normal-looking ink. The only difference was that the ink was heat-sensitive and would fade completely within a few hours of being exposed to air and ambient temperature. To anyone watching, they looked like a completely ordinary pack of pens. I read the description twice. Then I ordered 3 packs. When they arrived, I did a test, wrote a full page of notes, left it on my kitchen counter, and went to make dinner. An hour later, I came back. The page was completely blank. Not faded, not smudged. Blank. Like the words had simply decided they had somewhere better to be. I actually laughed out loud in my empty apartment. The next Monday morning, I came into the office early. I placed 2 of the disappearing ink pens in the cup on my desk, right in their usual spot, casual as anything. I kept my real pens locked in my bag. Then I sat down, opened my laptop, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. By 10:15, Marcus got up to grab a coffee from the break room. On his way back, he strolled past my desk, and I watched it happen in real time. That tiny, almost imperceptible pause, that casual glance around to see if anyone was looking, the hand that reached over and plucked one of my pens from the cup like he was picking an apple from a tree he'd always assumed was his. He didn't even look at me. I turned back to my screen and pressed my lips together to hold in the smile. Perfect. Now came the waiting. The beautiful, agonizing, wonderful waiting. I knew the ink would take a couple of hours to start fading, and as luck would have it, we had a department meeting scheduled for that afternoon at 2 o'clock. A real one. Not a quick check-in, but a proper sit-down with the whole team, the manager, the works. The kind of meeting where you're expected to take notes. I walked into that conference room with my real pen and a fresh notepad, found a seat, and made sure I had a clear sightline to Marcus. He came in with his coffee, his notepad, and my pen. The meeting started. Our manager began running through updates, action items, deadlines. Everyone was writing. I was writing. Marcus was writing, pen moving steadily across the page, totally at ease. I glanced at him occasionally, keeping my expression neutral, professional, boredly attentive. 30 minutes into the meeting, I noticed Marcus look down at his notepad. He tilted it slightly toward the light. Then he flipped back a page, then forward again. His brow creased, just barely, the way it does when something doesn't compute. He picked up the pen and wrote something in the margin. He watched it for a second, then looked back at the top of the page. The top of the page was already gone. Every single word he'd written in the first 30 minutes had faded into clean, unmarked paper. His neat, careful notes, just gone. His agenda items, his bullet points, his names and numbers, erased. And as he watched, the words he'd just written in the margin were already beginning to soften at the edges, thinning, disappearing before his eyes. He stared at the page the way someone stares at a magic trick, desperate to find the mechanism, unable to accept what they're seeing. He picked the pen up and examined it, clicked it, wrote one word on the corner of the page, watched it dissolve. Around us, the meeting continued completely undisturbed, keyboards clicking, pens scratching, our manager asking questions. And Marcus sat there in silence with an entirely blank notebook and an expression of pure, bewildered helplessness. I kept my face completely still. Inside, I was vibrating. The meeting ended. People filtered out. Marcus sat at the table for an extra moment, staring down at his notepad like it had personally betrayed him. He turned pages looking for evidence of his notes, any trace, any ghost of ink, and found nothing. He walked back to his desk, sat down, and set the pen carefully off to the side. He never put it back on my desk. I didn't expect him to. But the next morning, when I came in and placed 2 real pens in my cup, both of them untouched throughout the entire day, I understood that something had fundamentally shifted. He didn't know what had happened. He didn't know how it had happened. But somewhere in the back of his brain, some deep animal instinct had connected that pen to confusion and public humiliation, and it wanted no part of it. My desk supplies have been untouched ever since. No conversation required, no HR complaint, no awkward confrontation, just the quiet, elegant language of consequences, spoken in disappearing ink. Here's what I took from this. Sometimes the best response to someone who disrespects you in small ways isn't a big, dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it's patience, observation, and finding a solution so perfectly tailored to the problem that it doesn't just fix the situation. It teaches a lesson without a single word being spoken. Karma doesn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it shows up quietly, in a conference room, on a blank page. If this story put a smile on your face, and honestly, how could it not? Smash that like button and drop a comment below. What's the most satisfying, petty revenge you've ever seen or pulled off? I want to hear every detail. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now, because we have more stories exactly like this one, just waiting for you. See you in the next one.